Hello, and welcome to episode 64 of the Extreme Hardware Podcast. Today, Chris has invaded my apartment, and aside from that, we also have Axifer.
Bonjour.
Yeah, he's playing Rocket League, I guess, and we've also got Jack.
Yo.
I can do crime systems right now. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, let's just dive right into it. So for our first article, so it was like Twitter actually did a write-up of their auto-cropping algorithm. Basically, I guess, what was the update push when they increased the vertical height limit on images? Was that last week?
I don't remember. I just don't think I have it yet.
That sounds about right, though.
I haven't updated the app in a while, though, because why would I update apps?
Yeah, that's right. Effort. Yeah, you can actually, you actually have better control over that than Android does.
Yeah.
But Twitter pushed out an update on, the recent versions of Twitter Mobile, where it increased the vertical scaling of images, and unless it's just a ridiculously tall image, and it just cuts it off because they're trying to avoid the entire Tumblr bit where people had a 2,000 pixel long image and could just get away with it.
Damn, only 2,000 pixels? That's rookie numbers.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But basically, a lot of people were complaining into specific issues that the auto-cropping algorithm...
Quote, unequal treatment based on demographic differences. Or, in other words, people noticed that the Twitter algorithm would generally crop to white faces instead of black faces. They got some pushback for that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and also the quote unquote male gaze cropping, where it would just focus on women's breasticles.
I never noticed that one.
I definitely noticed that one.
Also, don't follow hentai accounts, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, that's valid.
Yeah, of course you noticed it, Simmons.
Yeah, what's up?
Of course you noticed that.
Like 3 of me at the same time. They're all moving
Yes, you have the live or the actual stream feed, and then you have the stream.
Yeah.
So there's going to be latency over here.
Yeah, but there's still latency.
All right, Chris, stop. We're talking about this article. And then, so I'm not 100% sure of this freedom to take action portion of it.
I don't think they've implemented that.
Yeah, but needless to say, for the most part, with the adjustment that they've made to the cropping or the auto cropping now, it just seems to center on directly in the middle of the image rather than just picking a specific part to focus on. But generally speaking, people taking vertical selfies in 4:3 format, that stuff is just fully visible now. No cropping required.
Yeah, you'd think that they would allow 9:16 as well, so just portrait widescreen, but I guess they don't, and I'm pretty sure that's the standard for most selfie cameras.
Well, no, because on my Samsung phone, the default for the max megapixel resolution is 4:3. Go to switch it over to 16:9. It's reduced megapixels.
Well, okay then.
Yeah,
I don't pay attention to phone cameras.
That's valid. I think the only people who really do is myself, and then Andrews when Andrews is trying to take portable food photos.
I hate how good Andrew is at taking very bad pictures of food, and it's only getting better even though he is getting better hardware.
Yeah.
His bad food pictures are getting worse because he has better cameras.
Yep.
I need to do that. I've stopped doing that recently.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's because your iPhone, broke again. Just went to a black screen and it wouldn't turn back on for some reason. You only had it for 5 hours?
What? No, 3 days.
Oh, okay. Well, that's longer than the last one.
Yeah. So I just realized that there's some weird audio thing going on with the stream, so I'm just trying to correct that. But yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot more to say about this. I think it's funny that Twitter finally actually decided to say something about it, though.
Yeah. You want to talk about the actual findings? So we say the numbers? I'll just do that.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. When they were compared men and women photos, there was an 8% difference in favor of women. Black and white individuals, there was a 4% difference in favor of white individuals. For what is this? What does that mean?
What does percent favor mean?
I actually don't know. I'm just kind of reading it.
I don't know.
Why is there two sets of things?
I don't really know.
Yeah, just link the article. You can figure it out.
I'm looking at some data right here. It's real.
Yeah.
They got numbers and everything.
Yeah. I messed around with this though, like whenever it would go around where people said it was in favor of whatever, I would just put like the darker skinned person in a different background so there was better contrast and it would favor that.
Yeah,
it came down to contrast. The problem is just like inherent flaw of cameras, which is there's much less detail and darkness than with like light. Like if you're looking at oh god, I can't remember what the explanation ends up being, but it's like it's just because it has to do with like perceived brightness versus like the actual discrete states that a CCD can pick up, and it turns out that there's a lot fewer discrete states when it's dark out.
Yeah.
And that's why you get horrible banding and Yeah,
and Google is actually working on a thing in their latest Android to tweak how they process black faces, which makes them look better.
There's some fun technology that, I don't know, 30 years. So there's a new CCD that's hitting like mass market, and by mass market I mean this will cost over $10,000 and you probably can't buy it, but it is sensitive to individual photons. So it's supposed to be like really good, for instance, for low light level photography was what the blurb said. However, realistically, this is going to be used for like chemistry. As individual photon detection is already a thing. You've got your photomultiplier tubes, which is just a vacuum tube that will like one photon strikes a surface, and then that surface re-emits like a dozen more photons, and it just has like a cascading effect that gets you a signal. But for stuff like spectroscopy, that's going to be really useful because vacuum tubes suck.
Yeah.
Like, I realize Simmons has a vacuum tube right here for his amp, but that's all, like, subjective. Ooh, it sounds better to my ears. For, like, actual working with them, doing measurements with them, manufacturing them, it sucks. Like, semiconductors are, better. That's why we have them.
I mean, I would just say I know this is just a derail, but, like, the entire reason why we're still using that kind of technology is because it's known to work, and everything's already kind of set up for it, even though there are technically more accurate solutions out there. Also, because the manufacturing has just been around for years.
Oh, for tubes?
It's cheaper, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's not entirely true, because manufacturing, like, stopped for a bit and had to resume because, like, we just forgot how to make vacuum tubes for a while.
Oh, yeah, that was funny.
No, what was it? NASA forgot how to make the Saturn V for a while. Because, like, the thing with technology is we could make all that stuff in the past, but if you don't write down how to do it, and more importantly, if you just ditch all of your tooling and, like, process notes, you can't just go out and remake that. Like, I don't think NASA could make a Saturn V, within the next year or so, let's say, even if we gave them lots and lots of funding, just because, well, how are they going to do it? They don't need to just rebuild a new rocket. They need to build, like, the process that builds the rocket. There's layers to it. Like, tubes kind of went out of fashion, so had to, like, get them out of like Soviet warehouses for a while. Isn't that where Nixie tubes came from? Until people started making reproduction. Are there reproduction Nixie tubes?
Yeah, there's one guy who's actively like manufacturing his own Nixie tubes. For his own clock. It's like to get the 6-digit clock, it's $1,000.
Yeah, Swift on Security mentioned something on Twitter with regard to electric vehicles, which is that once combustion engine cars fall out of favor, we are not going to see a resurgence of them because they're just too damn complicated to build, and it's a miracle that we can make them as widely and as cheaply as we can. Because, like, consider all of the parts that go into an engine and all of the complexities regarding that versus, some power electronics and a Hall effect sensor and a big coil of wire to make an electric motor. Like, I don't know. It's kind of sad to see technology that powered humanity for like 100 years just go away, but when it does, it will. Like, there's nobody who's going to be making them outside of like limited run hobbyist type situations, and then it's going to be for like track cars that are objectively worse than your new.
No, you'll still have
EV Corolla.
Internal combustion generators and backup sources, diesel generators. Those are not going anywhere.
Yeah.
That's fair, but those aren't prime movers. Or I guess they would qualify as prime movers, but they don't like.
Yeah, but we're not going to lose technology. Right? Like, we're not replacing all of internal combustion engines with electric right off the bat, like we did vacuum tubes with transistors.
Yeah,
it's not it replaces it in every single instance.
Yeah, it's going to take time. There's definitely going to be like a knowledge base for repairing these things for a very long time, just because, like, I mean, hell, look at Cuba, for example. Just U.S. sanctions and embargoes means that the whole island's just full of classic cars, and they still run because they have to run.
Yeah,
and
most of them are in immaculate condition.
Yeah. And you've got very skilled mechanics maintaining them because that's what they got to work with.
And like a parallel could be made back to like the IT sector, because like if you have any experience with Fortran, you can easily get 6 digits out the gate.
I have considered picking up Fortran for chemistry reasons, just because, I mean, shit, why not? Academia still uses it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of horrifying if you think about it, but like,
hey,
if it works, it works.
Well, I mean, but just even like just in the general populace standpoint, because there's like a lot of like scales that their servers still are running, like Fortran and other like quote unquote dead programming languages.
What do you mean scales?
There was a classmate that I had back when I was doing my undergrad, and he was a Fortran maintainer for this company that would it was these automotive scales that were installed back in the 80s, and for whatever reason the computers that they were using to track the data and to store everything still ran on Fortran. And
why not?
Yeah.
If it works, it works. There's no reason to replace it. I mean,
Teslas are garbage.
Simmons made a quip about how like the military has finally moved on from 8-inch floppy disks to 5 1/4-inch disks, but it's like, normies are going to see that news article about like, oh my God, the nuclear launch systems are using 8-inch floppies. Yes, they work. They did the one thing that they needed to do at the time. They still do the one thing that they need to do today. The only reason that they've been decommissioned is because, well, the parts aren't available anymore. There have also been some, I think the Navy or maybe the Coast Guard has a bunch of icebreakers that are kind of in a similar situation. The electronics just use parts that like don't exist anymore. So, fortunately, whoever was in charge of maintaining these things decided, hey, let's buy a bunch of these parts and stick them in a box in a warehouse.
Yep.
But that supply is dwindling, and that's going to be a problem. That's going to be some very expensive retrofits.
See, I still find it absolutely hilarious. And I know we were very off topic at this point, but when we ran out of 3.5-inch floppies at one of my last workplace, they needed it for just some information that they were transferring around.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I could probably just get a crate of them from my dad, because he ordered them when they were on sale back in the early 2000s.
Yeah. Fun thing about floppies, the last factory that made them closed down in like 2010.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's very recent. But no, it's just something that's kind of terrifying about modern technology, which is just how much of it is propped up by like one supply line in the middle of like some rural factory in China, or how much of this code is maintained by like 2 dudes in their spare time. By the way, one of them is 70 and the other guy has cancer. And that powers like 30% of the entire internet.
Yeah.
Like there's just a terrifying amount of stuff like that. Society's on the verge of collapse, and it's a miracle that it even works. I don't even mean this in some like instability Alex Jones kind of sense. I just mean like, wow, we made it this far. How did this even happen?
All right.
I'm getting more
Pudgy
spicy
asked
water.
something about Teslas, and I have actual opinions on them.
Oh yeah.
Okay, they are terrible cars. There is a reason why Tesla gives them to like tech reviewers rather than car reviewers.
Yeah.
They are terrible.
Yeah.
They have awful build quality. They're sold in malls, which just shows that they're appliances and toys. And yeah, I went to a Tesla dealership, if you can call it that, and the panel gaps on the car that they had on display, which means this is the best one they had at the factory at the time, was just terrible.
Oh yeah.
And now this has gone really far off topic.
Yeah. All right. I was gonna say before we do the next article, let's do the cryptography one as Chris is coming back.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
That was almost a dumb thing to do.
no, you're fine.
Yeah.
Our RSA conference, RSA as in shut up, Chris.
Pooping the Regigigas.
Yeah. RSA as in like the cryptographic suite.
Oh yeah, the Republic of South Africa.
That's not what that stands for.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so our RSA convention was going on when this occurred on the 17th was when this article was posted, and the topic of NFTs was brought up. And the leading quote in this article is, "The experts have weighed in. NFTs are dumb as hell." And I think this is just really funny because you had like the co-creator of the RSA standard who was actually like weighing in on this.
Yeah.
And basically the general consensus is like, yes, this is a great way for electronic artists to make a lot of money for some of their work if they get lucky. But aside from that, it's absolutely pointless.
Yeah. It's like Beanie Babies, but they're vulnerable to a 51% attack.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of NFTs, if you ask a British person for their thoughts about non-fungible tokens, they'll say, "Oi, mate, NFT, you can never have NFT. Save the Queen." Ow.
All right. I don't think there's anything else to really say about that one.
That's offensive to a culture that I don't respect.
Wow. Okay. All right. That's enough whiskey for you until the end of this episode.
No, I'm finishing this 2 shots minus an ice cube.
Okay. All right. Moving on. So it looks like we've got some rumors around Intel with Alder Lake. It looks like Intel is going to be pushing for the 12VO power supply standard for low-end Alder Lake CPUs. So basically, the TLDR on this is your typical power supply currently has a 12-volt power rail, 3.3 volt, and a 5 volt power rail.
That's right. Also, 5 volt standby, which is its own separate thing. Also, negative 12 volt, but only sometimes. And maybe negative 5 volt, but that's been obsolete for like 10 years now, so who really knows?
Right. And the movement to going full 12 volt is interesting because it reduces the complexity of your power supplies. We're only requiring the single 12 volt rail. And then it moves all of those minor DC to DC voltage conversions onto the motherboard itself.
I believe the bigger sell for this isn't complexity, but actually energy efficiency. Because if you generate it on demand in the motherboard, I mean, number one, you have like fewer resistive losses in the wires just because it's a higher voltage. But I remember.
Also, don't forget, if you've got a single voltage as required, it's all going to be a lot easier to supply that in like a rack environment or a cluster environment.
For sure. Yeah.
With one big power supply.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's not like this is really a new thing per se. It's a new like ATX standardized desktop PC motherboard kind of thing. But like then Mini ITX has been using something similar for a very long time. Like I've got, a few boards hanging around. These ones actually take a variable voltage in. I think it's 12 to 25 volts or maybe 12 to 19. I don't remember precisely. But they knock that down to 12 volts and the motherboard handles the rest of the voltage conversion.
Yep.
And obviously there's a problem if you need, say, Molex power connectors or data power or possibly even a floppy power connector because we live in hell. You got to get that somehow. So the motherboard has like a SATA power connector, and it's got a cable that connects to that has two connectors for hard drives. But all of that voltage conversion is handled by the motherboard, and since it's an ITX, it's only got a couple of SATA ports, so that's fine. So Simmons said low end Alder Lake boards. That's not necessarily correct. That's my fault for making him say that, though, because
Yes.
I did make the assumption that was mainly for low end, and I think that is what it'll end up being. Because it's mainly being pushed towards OEMs, I think.
I would say for initial rollout, it's probably going to be the lower spec stuff.
That said, there are screenshots of a Z590 board that has ATX 12VO, so I don't know. We'll see how it goes. What was the other one? Oh, right. There was a picture that I saw. So it was a 12VO motherboard. It had the new, is it 10-pin power connector?
Yeah, because they're replacing the 24-pin with the 10-pin.
Right, because the 24-pin has so many wires, because like 7 of them are 5-volt.
Yeah.
So you've got the new 10-pin connector. You had a bonus, I think, 8-volt power connector, and I don't think that was for the CPU. And then there were 2 more power connectors for a total of 4. Those 2 were actually power outputs. Those were for SATA devices. So it was a 4-pin, like your CPU power socket, the same mechanical thing anyway. But it had 12, 5, 3.3, and ground. So you can just plug a cable into that, and I would assume they handle like 3 or 4 hard drives. Certainly enough for the board's entire complement of SATA ports, I would hope, but no guarantees.
Yeah, and you did allude to the whole data center side of things. Is like in terms of like mass produced or large scale data center platforms.
Got stuck in my tooth.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, in terms of mass scale like data center implementation, there's a lot of like 1U and 5U and cluster or blade style server chassis that are already running on 12-volt only power supplies.
Yeah. Isn't there actually, does one of these motherboards have them? There's like a funny connector that Dell used that was like for hot swap power supplies.
No, it's this one.
Yeah. Is that 12-volt only?
Yeah, that one is.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that is you've made comments on that socket before. That is a 2005 era motherboard.
Yeah, you can tell because it's socket 604, I want to say. That was when Intel made the secret Core 2 hex for data centers only.
Yeah.
That was a weird CPU.
No, because what it comes down to is like from the data center perspective, if you have just especially with the hot swap power supplies, one of the biggest requirements just for maintaining uptime in a data center is just having a large slew of the same part on hand that you can just throw into any device or a large subset of the devices that you're maintaining.
Wow, weird how standards help.
Yeah. So, I mean, by going to this kind of standard moving forward, I mean, I think it just makes a lot of sense, like going to all 12-volt. And then if you want that extra, like 5-volt or 3.0-volt power, you just get a motherboard that's designed to do that kind of output. Like one of those Onda motherboards, actually, where it has the 35 cents connectors on it.
I think that one's just wired up to the ATX power supply. God, you'd probably need a big chunky heatsink for that kind of voltage generation.
Oh, sure.
Because looking at like hard drive specs, like what? 10 watts for a desktop drive, let's say, that's going to be about an amp per 12-volt device. Oh, wait, how much is the 5-volt?
Anyway.
I don't actually know how much power laptop hard drive draw. Anyway, who cares?
So, yeah, does anybody have any like negatives for this being a bad thing? Because I can't think of any.
It's inconvenient because I'll need to buy new power supplies.
Okay.
Well, you say that, but a lot of current power supplies should be able to handle it no problem with adapters, as long as motherboards are nice enough to not expect any other certain sense or anything.
Actually, there is one key difference. So that would be correct, except LVO is like very hard on the 12. The 5-volt standby rail is now a 12-volt standby rail. So, yeah, you could maybe get like a boost converter or something for your like ATX board, but I don't know. That's questionable. That's questionable. That would be interesting. That would be interesting to see. But
Well,
I'm unconvinced.
So I would say that the only power supplies I would actually trust to be able to do that kind of thing is like say maybe like an 850 watt platinum, 80 plus platinum rated power supply at the absolute minimum. Just well, only because like you said, that is quite a bit more strain on the 12 volt rail, and especially as people are running those Great Wall power supplies, that could potentially be an issue.
Yeah. I apologize. There was a story that I meant to get, and I forgot to paste it into the doc earlier. We'll get around to this later.
Okay.
Okay.
Thought on the Twitters, was it this morning or yesterday morning? I don't even remember now. I have no sense of time. Let's put that above the one that doesn't actually matter. Put a space there so the link completes. Do a couple line breaks. There
Okay, cool. Yeah, so...
Sorry. Bit last minute.
All right, cool. So, yeah, I think that's all there is to really say about this one at this point.
Yeah.
I really look forward to this change, honestly. I think it's positive.
You know, there's another advantage to this, which is it may be easier to make DC-only computers. Because, like, traditionally you need something like a HDplex or PicoPSU, where you have, like, a DC transformer. So you've got, like, let's say 19 volt in, you plug it into this box, and it spits out an ATX compliant power, I don't want to say signal, that's the wrong word, but, like...
voltage.
Yeah, voltages, but you get what I mean. But you power it with, like, a laptop brick. I guess you could use USB-C now. That'd be nifty. But because of that, if that's all 12 volt only, then really you just need to account for the standby rail and you're good to go. So, yeah, that's neat. I like this idea. That would, like, I'm sad that it would totally eliminate the need for PicoPSUs. However, neat. Those are expensive, and I don't like spending money on them.
Yeah. All right. So, moving on to our next topic. So, Blackberry publishes a method to virtualize ARM64 on the Mac OS. Now, they're saying at Mac OS, it's really with the M1 CPUs in Mac operating system. But, I don't really have a lot to say about this because we already had x64 convert. Well, it's not even x64 conversion. Isn't the M1's a pure x64?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. So I guess this is just the because it's AMD 64 now that this is a little bit more open source. Trying to figure out what the significance is.
This is just they figured out a way to emulate the ARM 64 version of Mac OS using QEMU on any other system.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's so security researchers can do security research without needing a system.
Nice.
I guess that's convenient. Yeah, I've looked into the M1 chip, not at all, because it's of no interest to me. You can only use it in Macs.
You'd be surprised.
Well, I mean, Apple isn't going to sell it for general purpose systems. Okay, great.
No.
I'm working on it finally.
Still want my M1 in a Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
So really, the only thing I know about it is that it has a comical amount of L1 cache, so it is very fast at executing JavaScript.
Yeah.
Just like one particular bit there, which I think is very funny because, like, here's the thing. The future of the internet, the future of computers, Electron, Electron, JavaScript, and 64-bit ARM. That's the future. That's what we're going to have.
Yeah. So, let's see. What else we got? All right, so I'm going to need Andrews to start to talk about this one, but YouTube ads in Safari. Go ahead and take this away, Andrews.
Yeah, I have a Mac and I refuse to use anything but Safari on it. There's no real ad blockers apart from AdGuard. And obviously there's a bunch of like paid for ones, but I'm not doing that. Recently, like in the last couple of months, there have been ads on YouTube that have just been coming up, and I have got all my things up to date, and YouTube changed something, and now AdGuard isn't blocking them. And I think it was Jack who found something to fix it, and I haven't actually read it yet.
There's an update about it, the AdGuard article.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real nifty how Apple has made Safari the default browser and really the only browser that you can use without jumping through lots of hoops. And also,
that's not actually true, Chris. You can just install any other web browser on like no issues at all.
Yeah, but you use it as a default?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, does iOS let that now? When did that happen?
Well, I'm talking about Mac specifically, not iOS. I haven't tried it with
the
iOS.
article that got linked here said iOS a bunch, and it linked the solution for iOS. So,
right.
Well, that's probably because like a majority of the users of this ad blocker are on iOS rather than Macs, because there's just far more iOS devices than there are Macs.
I was going to say, it's kind of weird that we let Apple control both YouTube and Safari, and then I remembered, oh, right.
So it looks like there is a workaround. The workaround is you have to allow untrusted shortcuts on your device, and then you have to put in a script that has a bunch of links to AdGuard's filtering service. And then once you can do that, then you eliminate your ads in Safari on iOS.
Well, I'll try that on my Mac and see if it works.
Yeah, you do that.
Okay, cool. Neat. All right. So what we got here? So Zotac potentially leaked the RTX 3090 Ti. Yes.
The 3090 Ti?
Yes, the 3090 Ti.
What the heck?
Not a Titan.
Is that? Yeah, this is just the Titan Black, but with a new name.
Well, not wait.
It's not the Black.
XP
See, that's the thing. It's like, okay, so basically, it was just they accidentally leaked a product number that is potentially alluding to a 3090 Ti. However,
PCgamer.com. Oh, okay. Oh,
great. Okay, now you can play with that pop up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, so basically the part numbers in question here are LED_E_3090 Ti, along with LED_E_fan 90 Ti and Ti_H. So yeah, I guess we're gonna need a part. We don't really know what chip it's gonna be. It's most likely just gonna be a fully unlocked GA102, but
we know which VRAM.
I don't think fully unlocked chips are going to be that common anymore for these really big die sizes, just because yields are, kind of shit.
Yeah.
We started seeing that quite a while ago. Like, I don't think Intel, for example, ever released 24-core Broadwell EP, or they definitely didn't do 62-core Knight's Corner or 76-core Knight's Landing. I'm trying to think what other numbers can I also. It's just too expensive to do it. The yields are too bad. Like the fact that Intel only has one SKU with 40, like one Ice Lake SP SKU with 40 cores, is they need a Halo product to say, look, we are selling a product for nearly $10,000 that is this fast. Meanwhile, you're not going to be able to buy the thing, and there's no way in hell Intel's going to give you like good discounts on it. So no, I really don't think we're going to see good, fully enabled chips anymore. There's just no point. Also consider the fact that, like, God, what the 3090s? How many more cores does it have than the 3080? It's like 50% more cores or something stupid like that, and it's only 10% faster.
Yeah.
I was gonna say we have a resident 3090 expert here, and how much he absolutely can't stand it.
I'm just curious more on the VRAM and other things. Like, are they going to leave a potential Titan with the whole unlocked NVENC count and more VRAM and stuff like that.
I don't foresee the Titan really being a thing.
The Titan is going to be a thing, but for AI research. We're going to see an Ampere Titan. It's not going to be marketed for gamers. It just should GeForce branding with the Titan V, actually. So it was 2 Titans ago.
Yeah,
wait, Chris, just wait.
What's up?
It's going to be the NVIDIA RTX Compute Titan. Going to be compute only. It's going to have no display outputs on it.
That's just.
But it'll have 64 gigs of VRAM.
That's just a discount Tesla, but frankly, that's what the Titan kind of became.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, there's already the A100 series. There's the A40, A30, A6. Those are all the data center, formerly Tesla.
Yeah.
80 gigs of VRAM on the A100.
Yeah, I really hate that NVIDIA got rid of the.
Or they'll just stick like 3 DVI I ports on it, not even DVI-D.
wait, hold on, Jack. What did you just say? How many gigs of VRAM on that thing?
Yeah, 80 gigs
80.
of HBM.
80?
Yeah, 80.
Yeah, isn't it? It's 6 HBM channels. Oh fuck! That just slid off the plastic. It's 6 HBM channels, but there's only like 5 enabled, and there's like 20 or
something like 3.2 gigabits per second.
Yeah, it's
pretty good.
Does HBM2E exist yet, by the way? Whatever the faster HBM2 update was supposed to be.
I don't think so.
Good old vaporware.
Well, the only reason why I say I don't think so is because that's all that we would see articles about for an entire 2 weeks if that was actually a thing.
Wow, number go up. We now have RAM that's even faster. What an unprecedented industry event.
Yeah, HBM2E exists.
Oh, it does. Okay, well then,
is it just relegated to like data center FPGAs?
I have to see what this thing is when it's used on, but yeah, Samsung and Hynix have things. Yeah.
So, I don't have a link for this, but this was just something that I was listening to on the way home from work today. But in regards to like what NVIDIA is doing with their GPUs, because obviously they're doing what they were calling the CMP GPUs, and then the LHR dies for the light hash rate.
Light hash rate, and it's light like you.
Yeah, like the beer I'm drinking. Yes.
Yeah. Well, can't you actually spell light beer LIGHT? You comply to certain FDA regulations.
Well, that's why Miller doesn't do it. But anyway,
oh, yep, you're right.
No, so basically, NVIDIA is pushing with all the new revisions of the GPUs. They're going to be sold under the same branding, but if you look at the die, they're all going to be the dash LHR dies. And it's kind of interesting because they're not going to be differentiating in terms of nomenclature. So there's going to be this weird like segue point where some of the GPUs that are still being sold by vendors or by stores, I guess would be the best way to say it, will potentially be selling the non-LHR die GPUs as well as the LHR die GPUs, and then moving forward, they're only going to be LHR.
Yeah, it's almost like the stock's going to run out.
Yeah.
One incredibly funny thing about the LHR is the fact that these things are going to be sold as like RTX 3070 LHR.
No, they're not.
No, they will. Because what's going to happen is if they don't sell them as that, somebody's going to say, hey, I bought this RTX 3070 and the hash rate's only half as fast as all these reviews said it should be, and NVIDIA is going to get sued, and there's a good chance that they're going to lose. If they don't lose, they're going to have to spend a lot of money on lawyers and then be like, all right, here's a check for $30.
No, $10, let's be honest.
Well, our GTX 970 buyers got $30 out of that.
Oh, so. Right, yeah, point. No, but so apparently they're going to be doing another limited run of the Founders Edition for the entire SKU of the GPUs.
I want to put this
and they have been confirmed to be non-LHR dies for the limited run.
Ooh,
interesting.
So that's actually kind of funny.
I bet the only difference with the LHR compared to the regular one is that there are just like some fuses in the die that come out of the factory already blown, so you can't like downgrade the BIOS version. It's not even going to be like new mask or anything. It's just going to be like, well, we lasered some bits off. Yep. Now you can't use the thing, and then somebody's going to find a hack within a month.
Probably.
Well, I mean, depends if the hash rate it's for hash rates that are mainly memory. All they need to do is just force really shitty memory chips on it.
I mean, I'm sure that won't backfire.
He can do it.
Yeah, you can just do that.
This card gets your FPS in games, so you have to actually be running a game, and they could just do the other way, where the speeds are only unlocked via a whitelist of things that use the NVIDIA SDK that are approved.
Try not to say the bad words now. Okay.
I mean, this is a lot of speculation to conspiracy at this point.
Something else, not you, Axie.
He was looking ahead.
One funny thing, actually, Axie, about crappier memory for mining workloads. If I remember correctly, the 1070 was faster than the 1080 mining Ether because GDDR5X had weird latency characteristics. Hey, I did the thing again. Weird latency characteristics that were just not very good, and they weren't conducive with Ether. Like, it's fine for gaming, but for that particular mining workload, it didn't work.
I did not know that.
Yeah, there were some benchmarks on back in the day. I would have to spend a lot of effort digging them up, and I'm not going to do that. So you'll have to take my word for it. But I swear I saw them.
Yeah, I believe you. It's okay.
It was this big.
Oh man! All right, so moving on to our next topic. This is what Chris started preemptively getting angry about. So Bethesda official forums will be closing this week, I'm assuming, since it was posted 4 days ago, and they will be replaced by official Discord servers.
My actual opinions on this are too actionable to say on Twitch, but what I will say is, God damn it, stop moving everything to Discord and Facebook groups and other things that aren't cached by search engines. Like, I realize I say this a lot, but I have to keep saying it because it keeps happening. The internet is a tool that could accumulate all of humanity's knowledge that humanity has ever had, and we're not going to have that because we're just going to have insular little groups, and we're just going to we're going to make guilds all over again, but for like hobbies.
Yep, and it's like the biggest issue with Discord is there's no permanence. Like, you can have a really big informational Discord server 1 week, and then one owner goes rogue, nukes the entire thing. All the information is vanished into the ether.
Now, I'm sure...
We're going back to the days of BBSs.
Yeah, no, this but unironically. I'm sure like a customer like Bethesda, Discord is going to have customer service. Like, I'm sure there's more communication than just your average like anime Discord. However, I mean, that's still technically a risk. But even then, it's still private. Like, yeah, it might be publicly accessible. You just have to type the Bethesda Discord, and then the first link is the one that you want on Google. And I know for a fact that people do this. We're not going to talk about that one on this podcast.
I don't trust the Discord thing because...
of course not.
Wait, hang on. Forza Motorsport has an official Discord that I got banned from, and the ban reason was I said GTA 5 has a better social interface than a first-party game Forza does on Xbox. That got me banned.
And because you got banned from that, and it's Discord, you can't see that without making an alt account, which violates their terms of service, I would assume anyway. Any website would have that as a clause, as opposed to a public forum where you can just read the things that are on the website
in plain text without having to log into an application.
Yeah,
that's my biggest issue. If certain Discord servers like this proposed one, you could just go into a web browser and have just a read-only view of the contents of the Discord server, and probably limited channels since you're not a member, but like the publicly informational channels, then that would be useful. But we don't have that functionality.
Conspiracy theory: Discord doesn't want to do that, or people will figure out how many Nazis and pedophiles they have using their platform.
I mean, I would honestly agree with that statement wholeheartedly.
Yeah, because they definitely got in hot water for that, because the Unite Youth Right rally was organized on Discord in large part because, well, it's a convenient platform to use. It's closed off from the public, and Facebook was starting to say like, "Hey, we should get some automated filters for extremism in here now." Discord don't got that. So that was a good place to organize. I realize that's probably not the best adjective to use for that, but anyway. It's It's got some issues. It's also being used to distribute malware because Discord is a fantastic file hosting site if your files are smaller than 8 megabytes or can be easily split up into 8 megabyte chunks.
Yep. Or you pay a small fee and then you can do 25 megs.
Yeah, but then they have your credit card. Can you use like those prepaid Visa cards?
Yes, I've done it.
Hell yeah! All right. Oh, you had to do that on your Minecraft alt, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But regardless, I don't like this. There are ways to bypass it, but like the only easiest way, or the only easy ways to get like unfettered access to certain Discord servers is to use a Discord hack client, and those are very against terms of service. There's just no way to actually see these contents in like an archive view on the web, like using like Wayback Machine.
Yeah, honestly, I would hope that there's like, I would not mind this as a concept, e.g., well, forums are hard to maintain and a security risk. Let's just set something up on an existing social media platform. I wouldn't mind that if the company also had like a read-only feed that was coming from the server. It doesn't have to be like a live feed. That's, fine. If it's for logged out users, they're not going to be interacting with it. They're just reading. But something that's cached, can be searched, can be read, stuff like that. I'd be okay with that, but that's not what we're going to have because web whatever 0.0 we're on is just awful.
IoT 0.0.
Remember, kids, the S in IoT stands for security.
Wait. Hold on. The S in IoT, you got it.
Yeah, stands for security.
Yeah, okay. I'm not even going to dig into that.
The joke is that there is no security.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You have had far fewer spicy water snacks.
No. I thought you were making it like the Internet of S joke. Internet of shit joke.
No, that's rude.
Yeah, it's funny.
But also accurate.
Actually, speaking of which, this is something else that we were talking about a few days ago, actually. Remember the Amazon sidewalk?
Oh, yeah, that thing. I forwarded that to Dad, and he said, hell no, and is probably going to opt out of that.
So explain what it is first.
Amazon Sidewalk, TLDR. If you've got your dumb little Wi-Fi-enabled Amazon devices, Amazon is rolling out a opt-out service where, well, oh no, what if your internet goes out and you still want to be able to say, Alexa, do literally anything? They will use some low bandwidth network to find your neighbors, echoes, rings, whatever, connect to them and use your neighbor's internet to go out to Amazon servers, so they still have limited functionality. Great, except one, they don't have the user's consent. I realize the terms of service says they have the user's consent, but they don't have the user's consent in any meaningful.
It's opt out
in any way that would be reasonable, and. Yeah, it's great. Why did you want me to complain about this?
Yeah, because we brought up internet shit. So.
Oh yeah, no, it sucks.
No.
Yeah, it's great. Just like defaulting to letting other people's devices get on my network.
No, and part of the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because not only do we hate this, but your conversation with your dad. Your conversation with your dad. Your dad was very against this.
Yes.
However, how many echoes are currently in your house?
Master bathroom, master bedroom, dad's office, great room, kitchen, sun porch.
7?
That's 6. Going by my number of fingers, however.
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
I missed one, but it's in a room that isn't being used. Damn, there are 7 in there in the house. Dad's logic was, because I told him at one point, it was like, well, if you're concerned about privacy, why are you buying these? It's like, well, it's a lost cause. Like, no, that's not how that works. It's like, I don't know.
I guess one thing, I didn't look into it much, but I'm pretty sure it was limited to the Amazon devices and their APIs, right?
Yes, correct. But there's going to be a lot of really cool 0 days that crop up, I'm sure.
Yeah, because the problem is they are going to be configured to automatically like reach out to any other Amazon smart devices within a radius of the device's antenna, and it's just going to automatically mesh itself once all of these updates and firmware updates are pushed.
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean, it sucks. It's an interesting idea. However, Amazon's a big corporation. They're hostile to me. My ISP is a big corporation. They're hostile to me. My neighbors I live in suburbia. They're hostile to me, too.
all I'm going to say is I'm looking forward to somebody.
That's not true. I like most of my neighbors.
Well, no, all I'm going to say is I'm looking forward to people exploiting this mesh network and just being able to use just this weird mesh of internet routing to just distribute something malicious, and then the investigation goes in to figure out where the data originated from. They just see that it was terminating from your Amazon Echo device, and even though you had nothing to do with it, it was your neighbor about maybe 300 yards down the road, and it just meshed all the way down.
I wonder if you could just like park your car in a neighborhood and
just have an Echo in your car.
Just like abuse these APIs. Maybe you need the hardware, maybe not, but just like have something jumps to the Wi-Fi. Like, okie doke, I'm distributing this new illegal porn ransomware now. Hey, probably not, but also that's a possibility.
Well, also the issue.
We're going to see some cool DEF CON talks.
Well, those are the issue ISPs, right? Like I know in Canada, some of the ISPs to hamper down where your terms of service explicitly say that you're not allowing other people not in your household on your Wi-Fi.
Do they make
that means that just by the ISP's own terms of service, this Amazon Sidewalk would be illegal?
Yeah. Axie, yeah, that's why it's opt-out, Axie. They don't force you to do it. You got to take initiative. Anyway, so Axie, question though. So do your ISPs make exceptions for guests? Like you've got a buddy hanging out. Is he still not allowed on your Wi-Fi?
It's in your household. So they kind of basically say like, yeah, if they're connecting to your Wi-Fi and you have a password on it,
your internet,
you've given it to someone.
Castle doctrine.
And also, every ISP in Canada provides the option to give you a wireless router as pre-configured with WPS enabled and some weird long hex 32 character code that makes it impossible to remember. So if you put your own router in, you're basically telling the ISP, yep, I know what I'm doing. I know who I'm letting on my network.
Yeah.
And they can just use that against like, yeah, no, you put a router in, you knew what you were doing, letting someone else on your internet who then browsed porn or torrents for videos or games or something.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. What's the other thing?
I was going to say, in terms of just like IoT device exploits, I mean, do we remember it was like 2019 or 2018 where there was the big IoT botnet that
oh my god, there was a Minecraft feud.
Oh
and
yeah,
somebody like hacked a bunch of IoT devices and they shut down like 40% of Google's traffic.
Yep.
This goes back to what I said about like 45 minutes ago. It is staggering just how much technology will just like fall apart. Modern society just breaks if a couple of things go wrong. It's a miracle that it works. And a bunch of idiots in Minecraft can take it down.
Yep.
And not even in Minecraft, like the funny bit that Twitter's doing now.
Okay.
Actually, one last thing though about the way the modern web is going that I really hate. Not really going into detail on the podcast for so many reasons, but like I feel like we're going to see a lot of like fun new geopolitical issues crop up. So now not only is it like, well, everything's hidden in Facebook groups and hidden on Discord, we're going to have like China's Great Firewall, but in every country now. It's probably not going to be, that bad. It's going to be like European Union countries are going to have access to each other. The US is probably going to be allowed in as well. But hey, I don't know if we really want all these Middle Eastern countries in there. What with their
new internet unions?
The EU just blocking British internet users from their nationwide networks. It's neat. I feel like this is going to happen. I would bet money on this happening.
Yeah. So real quick, we have one final article before we wrap this up.
Oh yeah, that was the one that I added at the last minute.
Yeah.
So a year or two ago, Seagate announced a fun new hard drive. So this hard drive, I mean, long story short, way a hard drive works, you have a bunch of platters. They're glass covered in rust, like literally iron oxide, I think. They spin at a high speed, and you have a bunch of recording heads, and they do some radio magic, and they make data come on and off it. So those recording arms are all moving like in one stack across each platter as a group. So what Seagate did was they split the group. So you now have like two groups of platters. So you have like one set that can move this way, one set that can move the other way.
Actuators for different platters.
What it amounts to is you have like half of the platters are with one actuator or one recording headset, and the other half of the platters, well, I guess actuator, yeah.
Yeah.
Half the platters with one actuator, half the platters with the other actuator, and the net result is effectively two HDDs and one. There have been other hard drives in the past that have used like two actuators. However, that's been like separate read and write heads. So like one arm on one side of the disk is writing data, and then it spins around to the next one that reads it.
So like on opposite ends of the platter, and just two separate arms to read and write.
Yeah. Seagate has pictures of this with transparent cases over the drive, which is really cool, but I don't think that's actually what's going to end up being sold mass market, which is unfortunate.
So yeah.
Oh, right. It's called the Exos Mach Point 2. It is a 14 terabyte drive. It only comes in 14 terabyte capacities for the time being, anyway. There are two SKUs, one with 5 12-byte sectors and the other with 4096 byte sectors, which is strange, but okay, whatever. I'm sure that's just like a firmware difference. They are SAS drives. I believe they use a dual port SAS connection and are just two separate hard disk drives, but I'm not 100% sure on that. It's kind of unclear. It's really nifty. It's a really nifty concept, and also I don't think it needs to exist. Like, it's one hard disk drive. It is one 3.5-inch hard disk drive device that hits 500 megabytes per second. SSDs were doing that 10 years ago.
Yeah, but there is something to be said about like the data center demand for like permanent magnetic storage in terms of like data recovery, because it is a lot easier to recover data off of a dead hard drive, usually, depending on what killed it, versus a dead SSD.
That's fair. However, keep in mind that these two actuator sets are they are discrete volumes. This is not like an internal RAID 0. This is two disks that you would have to RAID yourself.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, so the controllers are literally just treating it as two drives internally.
As I understand, oh boy, you zoomed in.
Yeah, here
we go. Let me take a look at what Serve the Home said here exactly. Actuators, more performance. 10K, 15K. Yeah, those are too power hungry, and SSDs are just better in that regard. SAS3 12 gigabit per second interface, which offers dual port access. Okay, so that's unclear. I'm not sure it actually requires dual port access. It might be something where it's kind of like a SATA port multiplier, where you have like one SATA port goes into a chip and then splits it, and that's just handled by the drive's controller.
Yeah,
I'm unclear on how this works precisely. But I don't know. As far as technology goes, it's really cool. As far as a device that I would put in a server goes, who cares? Because the thing about it is you're still dealing with RAID. You're still dealing with like spinning rust. Yeah, you have certain workloads that are going to benefit from like faster random IO on like hard drives, where like an SSD is overkill and just too expensive per byte, but a single standalone HDD is just too slow.
But do you think this is just a way to optimize read-write speed on SMR drives?
Probably not, because again, it's two separate drives. You're still going to have SMR's issues. It's just going to be like similar to RAID 0.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, the way that I perceive this actually being implemented is you take two of these drives or three of them, and then you just do a RAID 10, where you're just doing your striping internally, and then you are mirroring across various actual drives themselves.
I was about to be a dick and say, explain how you're going to do RAID 10 with 3 drives.
You can literally have triple redundant RAID 1.
It's 2 volumes.
Yeah.
It's 2 disks in 1 drive.
Well, because that makes sense where, say, you're doing like RAID 0 internally on one of these things, have like 2 of them for just a faster SMR RAID 10.
But that's the thing. Why not just use cheaper commodity drives? Because I'm sure that like 14 terabytes of this versus 2 separate 8 terabyte drives, I'm sure the 8 terabyte drives are going to be cheaper by a big margin.
Fair point.
So I guess it's going to be one of those things, kind of like hybrid drives back in the day, where it makes sense for devices that only have 1 drive bay, but still need that kind of performance, and also SSDs are too expensive. It's got to be like several criteria at once, and these are going to be good for it, but it's really niche. I don't see this really taking off. It's cool technology. It would be extremely cool if they could get this to like operate as one volume and have like every single recording head operating independently. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
No time soon, anyway. Although it would be cool if, like, next generation, it's like, oh, by the way, if you've got 9 fighters in here, each is controlled independently.
That would be neat.
Hell yeah, I'll take it. That would actually be, like, a pretty substantial performance upgrade. That'd be, like, 10 times faster random speeds on hard drives, which is, frankly, incredible.
Yeah.
And it would probably be expensive enough that it pushes it into SSD price per byte territory. Plus, you've got NVMe to be concerned with. And, well, NVMe, this might be 10 times faster than a regular hard drive, but an SSD is 1,000 times faster than it.
I thought the big thing that Simmons said is about the whole data recovery. That's a huge benefit on its own compared to SSDs. If we're getting
I would simply make backups.
Well. So here's the thing. When looking from the data center data storage perspective, so with my last job, we had a high speed 70 or no, it was all 15K drives.
Hell yeah!
And it was a couple petabytes, I think, worth of storage for the entire customer subset. And then you had our middle tier storage, which was mostly, it was a even higher data density for archival based on 5400 RPM drives. And it was just a lot more of them.
Yeah,
really dense storage, and the data was saved longer before it was moved up, before it was eventually phased out. And then for the lowest tier, it was just wrote to magnetic tape storage.
Yep.
And then that all goes into some silo somewhere, essentially.
Tape storage is still good. Optical discs are also good for archival, but capacities for those haven't quite kept up. So you're still stuck with 50 gigs for a dual layer Blu-ray at best.
Yeah, because we are getting to the point where data center level bulk storage for multiple customers is going to the direction of flash storage. However, it's still extremely expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Because not only are you paying for the raw hardware, but you also are paying for the services that are maintaining that software, as well as the warranty support, which is all paid for in the data center.
Yeah.
And it just gets more and more expensive. I see this
I feel like a lot of that would get mitigated because, if you're paying for, server instances from some cloud provider, well, you've got to pay not just for the hard drive, but also for the CPU, the motherboard, the power, the cooling, the IT guys to maintain it, etc. So you've got those flat costs. So it's like the price difference might be, hard drive costs this much, SSDs cost this much, but then, oops, we added all the flat costs, and proportionally, they're a lot closer.
Well, but once again, it all depends because, when you're dealing with companies like HP is maintaining this SAN array, and I don't know, arbitrary vendor Y is maintaining this SAN array.
Yeah, I love arbitrary.
Well, no, because I had a couple in my mind and they just escaped. I'm trying to remember what we actually had. But HP was one of the big SAN providers at that data center, and is probably for extras, but that's basically the extent of it. It's just this makes a lot more sense in the small tier cloud solution provider.
Yeah. I'm just still unconvinced that this extra complexity is necessarily needed.
Well, remember those IOPS are extremely important, especially in the data center.
Sure, however, it's more you're only doubling IOPS. You're still working with spinning rust. Just like basic SSD caching or basic tiered storage is probably going to be a lot better.
But once again, the risk of drive failure on flash.
Well, if it's just caching, then that doesn't really matter, does it? Because that data is only going to be volatile for hours or a few days. If you're doing
regardless, because one of the solutions that we were looking at probably about 7 years ago, so before I started working at the company, they were looking at doing RAM disk arrays. And
hell yeah,
for high speed, for just maximizing IOPS, but then with the volatility of hardware and just other weird RAM disk software failures.
When you say RAM disk, do you mean software based, or do you mean like those stupid hardware based?
No, it was going to be software based.
Oh, that's boring.
Well, it was good. It's more reliable.
I mean, yeah, that's understandable because the hardware RAM disk that I got, the 5.25-inch DDR2 drive, failed in like 30 minutes.
But that's the other thing that you have to factor in is with the environmental concerns and then weird software concerns, and then you potentially lose the entire quarter of your RAM disk array. That's a problem.
I would simply not do that.
Exactly, and that was the point. And that's why
I meant not lose the data, not do the RAM disks.
Okay, I'm not arguing with you on this one. All right. Does anybody else want to bring up anything else before we wrap this?
Yeah. The Seagate drive. I'm curious if Backblaze is going to be buying any of these because I want to see the failure rates.
Probably not, because Backblaze always goes for the cheapest price per byte, and there's no way in hell this is ever going to be cheapest price per byte. I mean, first of all, it's a SAS drive. So that's just like inherently more expensive, if only because there's a warranty attached for most data centers.
I expect them to get a few of them, but not for like on the large scale, like that they would normally be purchasing.
That's fair. I bet they will buy like a one of their 45 drive boxes and just fill it with these just for funsies, just to see how it does.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're going to do anything more than that.
Initially,
I honestly I suspect reliability on these is fine. Like, there's no way Seagate's going to release this if, oh, by the way, this is 3 times as likely to fail.
But it's Seagate.
That's very dumb. Here's the thing, Jack. Seagate's reputation is, I mean, it's not really deserved. Like, back pre-Thailand floods, it was maybe slightly worse than other brands, but not to an appreciable degree. And post-Thailand floods, which is what matters, well, they had a couple of crappy SKUs. Like, they had the, I think it was a 3 terabyte Barracudas and the 1.5 terabyte low power drives. And those were just shit. Like, Backblaze was having 25% failure rates within a single quarter. Like, that's really bad. Like, nobody's going to buy those, but also that was just one SKU. And Backblaze's problem, or rather, Reddit's problem with interpreting Backblaze's data, let's be honest, is that Backblaze lumped every Seagate SKU together. So this one SKU is treated equally with all the ones that were reliable, and then this narrative pops up like, oh, Seagate's twice as likely to fail as Western Digital. And then that narrative just stuck around so much that, like, one quarter it was like Seagate had like 98% reliability, WD had like 97% or something. And everybody on Reddit who had previously been like, Seagate bad, Backblaze good methodology, was like, oh, this is flawed now. Why is the bad company doing better than the good company? I don't like this brand. Why is this brand doing better?
And I was going to say, just from my like my exposure to just the plethora of drives that have been purchased in the data center scene, they're 90%. I would say about 65 to 70% are usually Seagate, and then
I think Seagate outsells WD by like 2 to 1.
Yeah, in the data center space specifically. Yeah. So,
I mean, honestly, like, I've got no brand loyalty. I think I have actually bought exclusively WD drives just because the price ended up being better at the time. But most recently, I think I said this a few weeks ago, I ended up getting like Costco specials on 8 terabyte external drives. Haven't mined any Chia on it. Thought about it. Probably won't.
Yeah,
those are getting shucked and going in my server. And I bought them at the time because I correctly predicted that Chia's going to cause shortages, and I feel smart now.
That was me with my 4 12 terabyte Iron Wolves, which I went Iron Wolf because I know I'm stacking a bunch, and they have the vibration sensors.
Yeah.
And they're sealed nicely, and they include data recovery services.
Yeah. I'm going to be slapping. You know what I'm probably going to do? I'm probably going to install these in like separate drive cages, just in hopes that that's going to kind of break up the vibrations. That might be a smart thing to do. That feels really goofy to do, but I'm probably going to do it.
Yeah, why not?
No harm. I mean, especially if that's going to be in RAID 5. I should probably do that with my RAID 1 over 8, just because it's going to be the same like IO pattern.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else have anything they want to throw in there?
No. Rest drives are horrible. Don't buy them. Just get SSDs.
Yeah, honestly.
Dude, I'm super stoked. I realized the other day that like I've got 4 terabytes of solid state storage on my new desktop.
Nice.
118 gigabytes of Optane and like 3.96 terabytes of flash.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never had a flash drive, SSD, anything like that fail, but I've had tons of hard drives fail, so yeah.
I've had one SSD fail. It was the very first SSD I bought, Samsung 840 250 gig. Upgraded my laptop. That's what got me into this stupid hobby.
Yeah.
And it just crapped out one day. I plugged it into my computer through like a hot swap bay. It showed up in Device Manager as like Samsung SSD, and I couldn't access it ever again.
Couldn't access it? It wasn't even read-only fail?
No.
Damn.
No, it's just like
the controller died.
Yeah, it's just reporting like a device ID, but that's it.
The only SSD that I had fail was a 480 gig, or no, it was a 250 gig Intel 320 series SSD, and those things were notorious for failure.
Those were 240 gig because they were SandForce.
Yeah, you're right.
Every SandForce drive was a multiple of 60 gigabytes.
They used to be on the server one day. Just the data that was on it just went away, and I was like, oh, that's unfortunate.
Oh God, I've actually got a SSD that I need to like make a copy of. It's my ADATA SP900. It is 64 gigabytes. It is SandForce SF2281, that controller.
Yep.
And it has 8 flash chips because flash was just not very dense back in the day.
Yeah.
I need to make a clone of that because I've got a couple of inland SSDs that I bought for a different project that kind of fell through the hole.
Yeah.
That is my brain and motivation.
Yay.
Yeah.
I got some spares. I need to image those. Just have a backup of them.
So before we go any further, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this recording. To anybody who's watching us live, thank you for watching.
Thank you us for watching us.
We love you as much as I love Simmons.
Yeah. I hate you. No, but to our live viewers, stick around. We will be going to after show immediately after wrapping up this recording, and to our recorded yeah. He's making fun of my stutter, is what he's doing. No, but to our recorded listeners, feel free to check us out live on Sundays at 7:30 Eastern on twitch.tv/Extreme Hardware or Extreme HW. And actually, you want to talk about the folding thing real quick?
All right. Well, while you guys evangelize, I'm getting more spicy water.
Folding at home. Check it out. We're doing a competition on Extreme Hardware starting Wednesday night at some point. Because time zones are weird. We'll have a link posted in the description in the doobly-doo.
Yep. But thank you everybody for listening. And since Chris ran away,
bye.
Au revoir.